So we're going to do chess today, and we're going to talk about something very important. Nuclear physics? I don't think so. We're going to talk about losing pieces. You guys are losing your pieces, and what did I tell you? Don't lose your pieces, right? Okay, now what I like to do is show games and then show mistakes people make. Now in the last class, I told them to castle, castle, castle. Did they castle? Yeah, a little bit. Some of them castled illegally, so they were trying. They moved their king really far and moved their rook really far. And that reminded me of chess 960, which you never heard of. Okay, chess 960 is when the pieces are set up sort of randomly on the back row, not the way they are here. And sometimes you castle really long. Although when you're done, it looks like you castled. So, but sometimes when I see you guys castle, it's more suspicious. Now, if I'm walking around the room, which is unusual, because usually I'll just sit. But if I'm walking around the room and I watch you play chess and I look at your games, I either shake my head like they don't know how to play chess, or I'm like, wow, that looks like chess. Okay? So when I watch a Grandmaster game, I'm like, yeah, those guys are Grandmasters. And when I watch guys who are rated about 1700, I shake my head. And then when I watch you guys, I cry. Okay? Because when I watch your games, sometimes I move 20 or 30, you haven't moved a lot of your pieces. You've made like 70 pawn moves, you moved your king about 80 times, and your bishops and knights haven't moved yet. When I watch Grandmaster games, I never see that. So I can sort of tell the difference between your games and stronger players' games. If you want to play better, you have to play like a better player, which means get all of your bishops and knights out and castle. And if I show you games that I played throughout the last 30, 40 years, I got my bishops and knights out and I castled. All of them. Not once, not occasionally, not usually, always. So in chess, you want to get your bishops and knights out and castle. And I'm going to show you a game that I played yesterday in this tournament where I got all my bishops and knights out and my opponent tried to prove he could move all 8 of his pawns. He showed me. Okay, then he resigned. Okay, so in this game, which I deleted, so I have to remember it, he played knight f3. Now he's winning. He has 1 piece out and I have 0. So did I give up? No. Okay, now I played in the center and he played in the center and I got a knight out. Now it's 1-1 and he played the Queen's Gambit. Now most beginners, when they hear the word Queen's Gambit, that's 2 words, they say, ooh, you're gambiting your queen. No, that's not the Queen's Gambit. That would be a queen's sacrifice. Or some of your sacrifices aren't really intentional. Now, Queen's Gambit means you're gambiting a pawn. Queen's Gambit accepted, Queen's Gambit declined, and the Slav defense. I played the Slav defense, because that's what I do. My opponent played knight c3. Now he's beating me 2-1. 2 minor pieces out, I got 1 minor piece out. Now, I played e6, this is called the semi-Slav. At the Grandmaster level, this is a very common position. Thousands and thousands and thousands of games. Now, where did he move this bishop? Where did it go? Nowhere. Is it, yeah? Nowhere, right? So did he move his bishop? No, he moved the other bishop. Did he go here? Did he go in front of his center pawn? No, he either went here or here. Turned out he went here. What's his bishop doing to my knight? The correct answer is, what isn't it doing? You.
Oh, I was going to say what it is doing.
Yes. I was kidding. You can be serious. Yeah.
Pinning it?
It's pinning my knight. But I moved my knight anyway because I don't take guff from anybody. Okay. No, actually I didn't. So if I move my knight, he'll take my queen, and then I'll lose. Then I wouldn't show you this game. Then they would have a meeting at the FIDE offices to take my Grandmaster title away. They would say, hey, he gives his queen up on move 4. That guy's not so good. So instead of giving my queen away, I took free material. I took this. And this is a very complicated variation where black wins a pawn, and white gets the center, and white gets development, and white gets everything, but black gets a pawn. So you can argue which is more important, and Grandmasters do. Grandmasters play e4 in this position, and they want to take this pawn. And then Grandmasters go, nope, you can't have that pawn. And then the other Grandmaster says, I'm a Grandmaster, I'm going to win your knight. You see how if the knight moves, you lose your queen? So this question's too hard for my previous class, so I asked this class. What does black do to save material? If black doesn't do anything, he's going to lose his knight. If black moves his knight, he's going to lose his queen. So what does black do so he doesn't lose anything? Not easy. The hands are up like this much. They're like, I don't know, maybe. Raise your hand up like this. Okay? And I could make a Ferguson joke, but I won't. Okay, you. Yes? Bishop e7 unpins the knight. Now the knight can move, but it's white's turn. So white takes the knight, and black cries. We have to avoid pawn takes knight, which we can't do. So we need to counterattack. We need to attack the piece that's pinning us. If only I could see a way to do that. Yes?
Pawn to h7.
Pawn to h6, attacking the bishop. The bishop maintains the pin. Pawn to g5, attacking the bishop again. Now if the bishop moves, we can move our knight. And just to show you how complicated chess is, white sacrifices a piece. Black says thank you. And then when white's down a piece, he's going to win this piece for sure. So white's going to get his piece back. And there's thousands of Grandmaster games in this position. In fact, I've had some of them. Okay, my opponent didn't do any of that. Okay, that's what white's supposed to do. My opponent was really worried that I was gonna mess up the recording. My opponent's like, don't mess up the recording tomorrow. And I was like, what are you talking about? So my opponent was worried I'm gonna play b5 defending my pawn, which I would do. So he played a4. Now if I play b5, he'll take it and I'll cry. Notice how he pinned my knight, okay? And I was watching Barney before he was born. What would Barney the dinosaur do if you pinned his knight? What kind of class is this? Come on. Yes. Break it? Let's see, hold on, let me sing. I pin you, you break it. No, I never heard that song. I pin you, you cry. No. What would he say? Very good. I pin you, you pin me. He's the worst player in history. So I think Barney would play bishop to b4 because that pins his knight to his king. He pinned my knight to my queen. Those are different pins because this knight can move and this knight can't move. So who's the smartest and knows what the different names are for those pins?
Barney.
Yeah?
Oh man, I got it.
Absolute pin. Absolutely right. And the other one is a relative pin. Okay, so I'll explain the difference. Okay, if you go to Sub-Zero, which I'm sure you go to every day, you can have an absolute pin, I mean absolute vodka, but you're not allowed to because you're 7 years old. So absolute pin means it's illegal to have it. Absolute vodka is illegal, you can't have it. Relative means your relative, like your mom or dad, they move their knight away and you take their queen, right? So you're playing your relative, you take their queen. Absolute is absolutely illegal. You can't have that. So absolute pin means it's absolutely illegal to move. A relative pin means you can move, but don't do it. Okay, so my opponent made a bad move. He should play in the center, get his bishops and knights out, and castle. Those are the three things you want to do in the opening. He didn't do any of those. He played rook to c1. Okay, that's not doing any of the stuff I said. Now, I want to be a pawn ahead, and he wants to take my pawn. I played b5. Notice there's two white pieces attacking b5, and there's only one black piece defending b5. So why doesn't my move lose a pawn? How come? Isn't two more than one? Yeah?
Because the knight is pinned.
The knight is pinned, so if he tries to take with a knight, the computer won't let him because it's pinned. So my move is safe. Okay, so I'm doing well. Now, should you move the same piece every move? Well, maybe. The answer is no if I'm asking you, but if you're playing me, then yes, because I want to win. Right? Okay, if you move the same piece every move, you're going to lose because your other pieces aren't moving. Well, he moved the same piece again. Now his knight's on my pawn, So I protected my pawn with my bishop. Also, my bishop didn't move yet. Okay, now made another strange move, pawn here. Okay, I don't know what that was all about. I got my knight out, hooray for me. Now he made another strange move, queen here. I'm not sure what those moves have to do with castling and getting your bishops and knights out. I must have missed something. Okay, so now my knight's pinned. Remember how it was pinned? We had that discussion. When your knight's pinned, you don't want it pinned because then it can't move. So there's two things you can do. You can unpin, let's say bishop here, for example, then my knight can move. Or just move your queen out of the way so it's not pinned. Now, I'm not pinned, yay, and I'm attacking his pawn, and I'm defending my pawn. Okay, so he took my knight. Who likes to vote? Okay, you can vote for three things here. King takes knight, knight takes knight, or Pat Buchanan. Those are the three things you can vote for. Who votes for king takes knight? What's worse than king takes knight? Pat Buchanan. So it has to be knight takes knight. Okay, so knight takes knight is what I did. I don't want to move my king in the middle. And he protected his pawn with the move e3. Now, should I take his pawn anyway to show, no? Okay. So I wanted to play c5 and attack his pawn, but this pawn isn't protected as much, so I protected it more. And then I won the game of tic-tac-toe, but we were playing chess. Now, my opponent should get his bishop out and castle. That's what you would do, right? Or would you move a pawn on the side for no reason?
No.
Also a good idea. My opponent moved a pawn on the side for no reason. Okay? So I castled, and he was like, all right, I'll castle too. And I was like, well, before you castle, let me go take that pawn. Now I'm going to take this pawn. And he was like, no. Whoa, he did that? I didn't know he did that. He did pawn takes pawn. And I took with a knight. And he castled. Finally. Okay. Now, I attacked his bishop, but he didn't want me to take it. I wanted to take it. So he moved it to a safe square, bishop f4. And I attacked his rook. What's worth more, a knight or a rook? A rook, so he moved his rook. Now I made the losing move. I played queen takes pawn check. He didn't see bishop takes queen, so then I took his bishop. Is that what happened? No. That's what would happen in your games. You would take this, and I would be like, what? Then they go here, and you're like, ah, that's better. Okay, so instead, I attacked his pawn with another piece. How did I attack this pawn with another piece? How did I do it? Magic? Actually, it was magic. How do I attack e3 with something else? All the way in the back. I guess that's right, because he was clapping for your answer. Bishop to c5. Okay, then he traded pawns. And then he was like, how do I defend this? The answer is you can't. But he did anyway. Okay, if I was white, I would play king. Well, if I was white, I'd be like, why am I white here? Okay, I would play king h1. But he defended his pawn. Notice queen d3 loses the queen. Queen d2 loses the queen. Queen c1 loses the queen. Rook d3 loses the rook. There's really no way to defend that pawn. But he defended anyway. King f2. That's not really why he castled. But okay, he wanted to defend his pawn. Now, in chess, sometimes you want to take stuff. You always want to take stuff. But it's protected. So you don't take it. Well, I wouldn't. One thing you could do is find the piece that's protecting it and make that piece move away. That's called removing the defender. Well, I can't make this guy move away, but I can make this guy move away. Okay, that guy's getting scared. Look, he's yellow. I can make that guy move away. What move can black make to attack that bishop and make him move away? It looks like we have a call-in voter. Let's see. Yes?
Bishop to
Bishop to d6 would make him move away, except our bishop is the one that's attacking the pawn. Also, there's a rook here. Yeah, but there's a rook here, so that would be risky. And if he takes the bishop, you still can't take this because there's a king defending. So bishop d6 is risky. It might work, but it might not. How else can we attack that bishop? What else can black do? Yes.
Pawn to 5.
I could play g5, but he's got a lot of guys on that. He could take, and then he could take again, and he's still on my pawn here. He's still defending his pawn. Also, g5 makes my king a little shady. Yes?
Bishop to e5.
Bishop to e5. This bishop to e5 or this one?
Pawn.
Pawn to e5. That's what I did. Right. Okay. Now if his bishop moves away, I'll take his e3 pawn. If his bishop doesn't move away, I'll take his bishop. He decided a bishop was worth more than a pawn. So he took, and I took. Now, did he play king takes bishop like half of you would? No, because he can't, right. So he can play king e1. I don't think that's why he castled. Or he can play king g3. They're both terrible. Two terrible moves. You got to make one of them. He made the better one, according to the computer, king to g3. Now, you may have noticed in your own chess games that rooks move up and down and sideways. And you may have also noticed when you have a pawn in front of your rook can't move. Okay, for example, my rook on f8, it can't move up and down because I have a pawn in front of it. Therefore, you may have heard the phrase, rooks go on open files. Rooks go on files with no pawns. So this rook and this rook are on open files. The other two rooks are sort of blocked by pawns. So I played rook to e8, attacking his bishop. And he should either move his bishop or protect his bishop. But he made a bad move. He attacked my queen. Okay, and if I take his rook, he'll take my queen. And if I take his bishop, he'll take my queen. But when I move my queen, now he has a couple of issues. His bishop's attacked twice, and his bishop's protecting his rook. So, for example, if he saves his bishop and his rook, I can remove the defender and then take his rook. Okay, he'd be in a lot of trouble then. So how can he save his rook and his bishop? What did he do? He made the only move to save them both. Yes. This time say pawn. Yeah? Pawn F4. That's what he did. Right. Now everything's protecting everything. Okay? Kings protect every... Okay, and I won tic-tac-toe earlier, but now he wins Connect 4. So, luckily it was a chess game, so he didn't have much chance. Okay, I actually played in a bridge tournament last night. I'm sure all you 10 and 11-year-old kids play bridge. And I told the guy, he said, how good are you at bridge? I said, well, I'm a grandmaster, just not at bridge. I said, but if a chess tournament breaks out, we're all set. Okay, unfortunately, chess tournament did not break out. Okay, so one rule that I tell all my students, and I'll even tell you, is you should take all of your opponent's pieces, right? So guess what I did in this position? I took all of his pieces, following my own advice. Okay, they're all on the same diagonal, so I took this one. What do you think he did? He took it with the pawn, and then I checked his king and attacked his rook. I thought taking all his pieces was a good idea. He got out of check, and I took his rook. Or I played queen d5. It was an internet game I would have lost with a mouse slip. Okay, now, if I was playing another grandmaster, they would give up here because they're incredibly lost. Then I would question why they played so badly. But all right, now this guy, he's not a grandmaster, so he's like, yeah, I've been down a piece before. I'm always down a piece, no problem. So he took this pawn, attacking my queen. Now my last class, they didn't do this so well. Maybe you guys will do better. Okay, now we have a bet on it, so do a good job. Okay, this night, and this king, you know, they're pretty out in the open. Black has a move that attacks both of them. True story. What move is it? In the corner. E5. That attacks the knight, but it doesn't attack the king. But it's close. F5 would do it, but F5 is illegal and hangs the queen. How do we attack the knight and the king at the same time? And is that called a spoon or a knife? Fork. Or as my kid said last class, it's called a pin. Well, that's what he said. You.
Queen D7.
Queen D7 check, attacking his king and his knight. Now actually, he can save his king and his knight. But he didn't do it. And if he does do it, it's worse than what he did. So it's good he didn't do it for him. How does he save his king and his knight? Yes? Queen F5. Now, I can play the simple queen takes queen, rook takes queen, bishop C8, pinning his rook to his king. But my chess engine says I should play bishop C8 right away. Even stronger. And the idea is, if you take, I'm still forking your king and knight. You still can't even avoid that. Okay, so he didn't play queen F5. He played king H2, saving his king. And I said, yum, 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 yum. Okay. Now, black's up 2 pieces. And when 2 grandmasters play, it's very rare to see somebody up 2 pieces, because the other guy usually gave up by then. Okay, but this guy keeps going. Bishop takes pawn, forking my knight and my queen. How did I save them both? I don't want to lose my knight or my queen. I like my knight and my queen. Yes? Counter. What did I do? What move? Knight D4. Well, as Groucho Marx once said, on You Bet Your Life, or What's My Line or something, that answer is better than mine. Yeah, knight D4 actually would be a fine move. I don't see anything wrong with it. Looks good. I did something else, but you found a move that's just as good as my move. Yeah?
Queen A4.
Well, queen A4, I'd still lose my knight. It's attacked twice. I played queen E5 check, or F5, losing my queen, one of them. Queen E5 check, attacking his king, so he can't take my knight. So he blocked the check, and I saved my knight. I tried to anyway. Now, I'm up 2 pieces, and I'm forking 2 pieces. Hooray! He played bishop takes pawn check. Did I take his rook and make it double check? If I had my notation sheet, I could double check. Now, I played king H8, because that's allowed. Thought it was allowed. And he played rook F5, attacking my queen. Most of you would play queen takes rook. Your opponent would play queen takes queen. You go, I hate when that happens. Okay, so I didn't do that, because I hate when that happens. Now here, black is up 2 pieces. That's good. And white's king is very suspicious. So one thing I thought about doing, I didn't do it though, was rook A1, and if he takes my queen, then checkmate. I thought about doing that, but I didn't want to get too fancy, okay? Because, I don't really like that song. Anyway, I played bishop G1 check. That's as fancy as I get. Now, my opponent did something you'll never, 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 ever, never, ever do ever. What did he do? You guys might, he resigned, he gave up. Okay, you guys shouldn't do that. Now, if he takes my bishop, black has checkmate in 1 move. If you're taking notes, checkmate in 1 move is good. How does black checkmate white in 1 move? Yes?
G3.
Queen takes G3, checkmate. Hashtag checkmate. The queen's attacking the king. The bishop is defending H1. The knight's defending F1. And obviously, the black queen's defending all of that. With so many colors, what chance does he have? So he saw that, so he didn't like that. So he could have played king h3. That's what I expected. Then I was going to play queen e2, threatening queen g2 check, and threatening bishop g2 check. I guess that's mate. And threatening bishop c8, pinning his rook. And I'm up 2 pieces. So he decided resigning was a good idea. Okay, he must have learned it from Nixon, right? Nothing? Yeah. Nothing in there? No? All right. And that's funny because I just taught a chess camp at the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Library in Ann Arbor. I'm telling the kids never to resign, but I'm in a building because the president resigned. So I don't know, it was a very strange situation for me. Right? You agree? No, nothing? You got nothing? No? Okay, well, you tried. Okay, so that was a game that I played yesterday. Now, unfortunately, I wanted to show you another game that I played, but that game, yeah, I forgot. But that game was 106 moves. Okay, and the last time I showed a 106 move game, everybody started crying, including me. Okay, and the people at home, they were in tears. They were like, 106 moves, show us something that was like 5 moves long. What's wrong with you? Okay, so my 106 move game ended in a draw, but we had a good excuse. It was king versus king, and he had the opposition. So king versus king, that was it. So we agreed to a draw. Is that fair? That's a good idea? We couldn't win king versus king, and nothing we could do. Okay, we tried hard though. That game went 5 hours, just like most of your games. That game I just showed you, that game went about an hour. That's fair. Then I have a lot of half-point buys where I don't play, so I can teach you guys. So I don't play very often. But when I do play, I either win in an hour or I draw in 5 hours. So it's unclear which is better. Okay, I think winning's better. Okay, now I'll show you another game, but I'll let you guys decide. Do you want to see one of my great games, or do you want to see a great game in chess history by somebody else? Who says my game? Yes. Wow, I actually got a lot of votes. Who says a great game in history? 5. Wow, it was close. I think, what do you think? I think my game won, yeah? Yeah. Okay, we could do a count, but we don't have a quorum. It's terrible. Okay, so we'll look at one of my games. Let's see. Should we do one from the last 2 years or from 1989? 1989, I agree. Now, there's a chess player you never heard of called Boris Gelfand.
Oh, I heard of him.
Right.
I heard of him.
He's the highest rated player in Israel. He's originally from Belarus, but he moved to Israel. And 2 years ago, he played for the World Chess Championship with the person who was the World Chess Champion. Who was the World Champion 2 years ago? Me, right. Yes. Anand Gelfand. And whoever wins that match was the world champion. And the match was tied 6-6. Nobody won. Then they had a playoff, like Blitz Chess or something, and Anand won, so Anand was the world champion. Then, you never heard of Gelfand, because he didn't win the match. And Anand then lost his match to whom? The next year. Yes. Magnus Carlsen. And in 2 months, who was Anand going to lose to again? Same answer. Yeah. Magnus Carlsen. They're going to play again in November. Okay. Not good for Anand. Okay. And then that'll be the end of Anand, because then he'll retire at some point, probably after the match. Okay. And then Carlsen will be world champion forever, right? Now, if you want to see Magnus Carlsen in person, what are you going to do? Yes. What would you do? Go to the Singfield Cup. Where's that being held? Somewhere in Australia? Where? Here in this chess club. So Magnus Carlsen will be here in 9 days. Then you can see him. Hey, that's Magnus Carlsen. Also, other grandmasters will be here who are much better than me. But they won't be lecturing to you. They'll be winning hundreds of thousands and beating their opponents. Okay. Singfield Cup has 6 of the top 10 players in the world. And it's the highest rated chess tournament of all time, plus tax. Yes.
I'm going.
Are you playing?
No.
No, okay.
I'm gonna watch.
I agree, that's what I'm gonna do. Also, food at Lester's. Okay, so this is a game I played in 1989, possibly 1990, who can remember? Okay, and I was white, and we played your favorite opening, the Nimzo-Indian. Okay, notice how his bishop is pinning my knight. Is that an absolute pin or a relative pin?
Absolute.
Absolutely right. And I played queen c2 because that's my favorite variation, defending my knight. Yeah. He played c5, attacking my pawn, but I didn't see it, so I gave up. No, wait a minute. I took it. Hooray! Now he made a strange move, queen c7. So I guess he wanted me to not play bishop f4. If I play bishop f4, I think I know what he would do. So I played knight f3. I played bishop to g5. I moved this bishop. Where did I move this bishop? Oh, I played e3, and then I moved my bishop. Now where did he move this bishop? All right, so he played this. Castle. Hey, I got all my bishops and knights out in castle. Amazing. Okay, and he played here. And now, if you remember the last game, which was about 4 minutes ago, I said rooks like to go on open files. So I put my rooks on open files. And there's only one open file, so I put both rooks on it. And now, an important decision was made. The decision to lose the game. Luckily, made by my opponent, not by me. Okay, here, black has two ways to castle. The correct way, and the way that lets me win the game. He was a very nice opponent. Now, I have to explain this move. Gelfand is a much better player than I am, so he wants to win. He's like, Ben Finegold, a free point. He was like foaming at the mouth. Anyway, he said if the game's really boring and it's a draw, that would be a tragedy. I have to make the game really complicated, and then my opponent will blunder every move and I'll win. That's what he was thinking. So instead of playing the boring move, castles, which computer will say is an equal position, he castled the long way. Now when you castle, you're supposed to have a safe king with pawns in front of it. However, black moved all of his pawns on the queen side. I don't think that was a good idea. Now there's a name for this kind of position other than winning for white. It's called opposite side castling. I castle one way, he castles the other way. Usually in those positions, there's pawn storms. Okay, sort of like last night there were storms, right? Did you see all the pawns coming down? Okay, how do you think these sets get here? So I pawn storm his king, and he tries to pawn storm my king. And I attacked his pawn. Notice how all my guys are attacking his pawn. So he played e5, and he continued with the pawn storm. And I continue with my pawn storm. And he put his rook over here. So he's going to mate me, and I'm going to mate him. Okay? And even though I was successful, he became one of the top 5 players in the world, and I'm one of the top 5 players on my block. Okay? I don't think there's 4 players on my block better than me. Okay, so I busted through a5. He was like, thank you. And then c5. Then he was like, wait a minute. This guy's busting through on the queen side. He's going to checkmate me. He didn't like that. In fact, if he had taken my pawn, I would have played b5. And then if he had taken that pawn, I would have taken with the knight, and he would have cried a lot. Because, boy, am I going to checkmate him now. I'm attacking his queen. I have 2 pieces attacking his e5 pawn. My rooks are doubled. My queen is here on his king. And his king has almost nothing in front of it anymore. If he plays queen c6, I would win his queen with a fork. Okay. So he didn't like any of that. So he attacked me, g4. And then I forked his queen and bishop. And then everybody took everything. That's fair, right? All we did was take stuff. Okay. Now, you'll notice my knights attacked because my knights attacked. However, my knight is in a relative pin. If I move my knight, he'll play queen takes queen, and I'll lose, and then I'm not showing you this game. Okay? So I can't move my knight, but if I don't move my knight, he'll take it. Okay, but his king is pretty open, so I checked him. Now the game got very interesting for me. If he plays queen b8, you guys know what to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, he plays knight b8. Well, he did play knight b8, so we'll look at that later. King to b7, that's the interesting move. Because now I can win his queen. For a grandmaster, pretty easy. For you guys, I don't know. It takes 3 moves, but white can win black's queen. And he saw it, and I saw it. The question is, do you see it? How does white win black's queen? First you do a skewer, and then you do a fork. Okay, and then you go to the Greek restaurant, because you're all ready. No, nothing? There's only one skewer that I see. Yeah? Rook to a7 is a skewer. We're attacking the king and the queen. I think black should take that rook. Otherwise, I'm going to take his queen, right? And now I have a fork because his king and queen are lined up just so. Wesley So would approve. Boy, now the hands go up. They're like, wait a minute. Bathroom's over there. Yes. Anyone? Yeah. All right. I like the dance. What's the answer? Knight b5 check. And I win his queen. Anyway, he didn't like that because he liked his queen. So he played knight to b8. Now you remember my knight can't move because it's pinned? Now in the previous game, which you forgot, there was a position where, I'm going to take this with me. Uh-oh, I guess I'm not going to take it with me. Man, they were right. You can't take it with you. All right. There was a position where my queen was here and my knight was here. And his bishop was here attacking them, and I played queen e5 check. That was in the last game. This game I have a similar motif. My knight can't move because I lose my queen. But I moved my queen away with check. Bathroom's still over there. Okay. How did I move my queen away with check? Yes. Possibly this square. Check. Now my knight's not pinned. Also, he's in check. Also, his knight's attacked. Also, he's checkmated. Okay, so now he resigned. He gave up. He can't move his king here or here. It's illegal. If he moves his queen here, my rook will take it. If he plays king here, I do the exact same thing we just looked at. Rook a7 check and knight b5 check. So the only move that makes any sense is knight here. And all of his knights are pinned. Then I was going to play bishop takes pawn, queen takes bishop, checkmate. That was my plan. Most of you don't think it's checkmate yet. We'll let it sink in. Has it sunk in yet? See, his knight's pinned and my rook's defending my queen. So that's checkmate. And if he moves his queen away, let's say here, now, do you like sacrificing your queen or you don't? No? Okay, if you don't, then you play rook takes knight check, and then checkmate. If you like sacrificing your queen, you play queen takes knight check, and then checkmate. So since everything was checkmate, he decided getting mated wasn't the best idea. So he gave up. And in this position, my computer says white is up plus 12. That would be like being ahead of queen and a knight. So he didn't like that. Although computers then probably said it was equal because it was 89. So the next time we have a lecture, we're going to get somebody from the audience, and they're going to show us a game they played several years ago from memory. You guys, all have to be ready for that, okay? That's the next time. You agree?
Sure.
Yeah, see, he agrees, so that's it. I can't take that back. Okay, so that was one of my favorite games because that guy went on to become one of the top players in the world. I have another game that I like to show, except I haven't memorized it, so I don't show it. And that's my game with your favorite player, the number 3 player in the world. He's American, but he plays for Italy. Who's that? He's number 3 in the world. Yeah, what do you think his name is? No idea is correct. Another answer would be Fabiano Caruana, and he'll be here for the Sinkfield Cup. And about 9 months ago, I was in London, and I saw him at a tournament, and I said, hey, we played 1,000,000 years ago. And he goes, oh yeah, you won, didn't you? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. Okay. And now he's number 3 in the world. And again, I'm one of the top 3 on my block.